Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, how are you doing?
Wait a minute.
My name is...
Okay. Hello, everyone. This is Blog Talk. This is Blog Talk Radio with Reginald Clemons hosting, and we are now going to be listening to Reginald Clemons on Incarcerated Mentors, Reentry 2030, and much more.
Yes, thank you, Leonna. I appreciate it very much. And thank you all for tuning in and listening and logging on to this to Blog Talk Radio, Shedding Light with Leonna Brandao. And I definitely enjoy this opportunity. It means everything to me to have the opportunity to speak to you all about this Reentry 2030 program. I'll say ever since I've become a part of this initiative, it's something that's well-grounded and founded, tried true methods of rehabilitation and tried true methods of rehab. We're going to have both Nicholas and Jerry on today, who are both facilitators on the program, Reentry 2030. And we're also partnering with activist organizations and support groups within the government, as well as activist organizations that are on the ground level on the street, who are actually hitting the pavement. So it's a conglomerated effort of criminal justice reform that has a lot of organic roots to it, and I love organic movements because throughout history, organic movements have gained the greatest momentum. The difference this time is that the government is willing and involved, and I pray to God that this is everything that my heart believes it is. With that all said, is Jerry on or Nicholas?
573, are you on?
This call is from a correctional facility and may be monitored and recorded.
I believe that, well, one of them just dropped. Hold on 1 second. Okay, 573?
Yeah, it's Jerry.
Jerry, you want to let the audience know a little bit about yourself, and then I'll let you go forward, all of you?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Leonna. My name is Jerry Husky. I'm currently an inmate at the Jefferson City Correctional Center. I am serving a 41-year sentence for involuntary manslaughter, second-degree assault, and possession with intent. I'm a facilitator within the Reentry program and do my best each and every day to give back to our clients, and hopefully that's my way of giving back also to and serving the victims that I created along the way.
Reginald?
Yes. And I was remiss to introduce myself. My name is Reginald Clemons. I'm a former death row inmate who has served 32 years so far, and God blessed me to get off of death row and plead out to 5 life sentences, and since then I've been on a quest of redemption, and this program is like a cherry on top of that, where I'm able to actually participate in helping to bring down the crime rate, which is something I look forward to seeing the results of this beautiful project. Jerry, I believe, wanted to speak on the rule class that you're a facilitator on. See, I'm a mentor in the program, so my job is to kind of like encourage them and be and help instruct and guide people through the program from amongst the people. And Jerry is a facilitator, and our roles are kind of go hand in hand, where I'm more sociable and he's more of a staunch disciplinarian and instructor type deal. So that way it creates a social environment of cooperation. Jerry?
Oh, thank you, Kadir. All right, I'm sorry. Thank you,
This
Reginald.
call is from a correctional facility and may be monitored and recorded.
As Reginald stated, I'm a facilitator, and I do my best to be fair to the clients that are here. And they start off when the clients first arrive. Well, let me back up a little bit. Last week I spoke on the other two classes that I teach, which are substance abuse and relapse prevention. Again, Leonna and I both touched on how when we get to the core causes of our addictions, then we can begin to recover. But part of that recovery is when you come into reentry, you're admitting, hey, I got some problems. I need some help when I leave here. And that's where they look to us, the mentors, and the staff here, which that's kind of a little bit today. I'm going to talk about the rules class that the clients go through when they first arrive that I also teach. When they, like I said, when they first arrive, they're provided with an information packet. That packet contains the creed, 115 rules of our program, and a general overview of the program. After they get this information packet, the clients attend classes twice a week on Wednesdays and Fridays from 9 to 10 with me and at least one of our mentors. Usually there's 3 or 4 of them there, but at least one. The class usually lasts about 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the number of new clients and the number of questions they ask. At the first class, I'll go over, I introduce myself, of course, and then I'll write on a whiteboard the names of all the other facilitators, where they live in the wing, as well as the name of the mentors and where they live in the wing. Then I'll go into who our program caseworker, Mr. Idris, is, the functioning manager, and the other caseworker. After the introduction, I begin to cover the entire packet, giving each of our clients a chance to ask any questions that they may have along the way. As I said, the class usually takes between 2 and 3 weeks. At the end of the pack, though, the beautiful thing is that Jefferson City is the first, to my knowledge, to implement and start a pilot program whereby the new clients that come here, they start out with 5,000 points. We're working on a point system here. And it's much maintained much like a bank account, which Nick is our accountant. I don't know if he's on the line yet or not, but hopefully he'll be joining us. Whereby we teach the clients responsibilities to show up, and complete their job tasks here. And each time they complete their job or whatever program they're involved in here within our program, they receive points each week. Or for each job that they complete. Much less giving them, like I said, to maintain like a bank account like it would be outside here. The clients each start off with a gold card, which is just like having a gold debit card outside of here. And then as they go along, we're effectively rewarding positive behavior and reinforcements, and when they display certain types of negative behavior throughout the community, they're penalized or there's a deduction from it. The system was designed by one of our facilitators, Robert Dahl. We are still implementing this system, and it's growing quickly. The cards are given to the clients, and like I said, they resemble debit cards. There's gold, platinum, and black cards. Each client starts with, like I said, 5,000 points. Then at 10,000, they can get a platinum card. At 20,000, a black card, and so on and so forth. I'm excited for where the program is now heading because we're actually taking our clients into a real-world situation. Like I said, once we can help, we begin to help them here with their addiction problems. But that's just their core issues. When they leave here, they need help from other facilitators such as Nick and Rob and many of the other ones that are within the program to help develop and hone skills that they'll use outside of here. Now, Nick, he teaches like the computer class, and Rob graphics arts, but we have so many other classes which we can cover them, I'm guessing, at another time. I'd like to maybe bring Nick in, and he can explain a little bit about what he does if he's online.
No, he came on, but he dropped. For some reason, he dropped. And Reginald, he's going to be calling back. His time ran out. So he'll be calling back in a few minutes. So just go right ahead, Jerry, and talk about anything else that you want to get out there.
I'd be more than happy to. So, I mean, I really enjoy, like I said, this is a way for me to give back. You know, it gives me the pleasure to help other addicts, you know, while they're here within the program. And this beginning part of the class is crucial that a person like myself sit in. That way, when the clients do have questions about what's going on within the program, what the program offers, the classes that are here, we have a facilitator answering, like myself, answering those questions for them. It's hard at times to understand the clients if we're not really listening to them. That's one thing I pride myself on, is listening to the clients. I believe Nick's now on the line, so I'd like to turn it over to him. He can explain about the computers. He can go more into detail about where we're at with the point system and the implementation of that system. That Nick's really, really smart, so I got to give it to my teammate. He's one of our facilitators here, too.
Okay. The other one didn't come back on, but Reginald Clemons is back on. Okay.
Go ahead, Nick.
The one, Nick, apparently Nick was on when you were on, but he dropped. And when we first started, he dropped. So I don't know if he'll be calling back in again. But right now we'll have...
No, Leonna.
Are you Nick?
It's Nick on the line now. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yes, yes, my name is Nicholas Thomas, but I go by Nick. I'm a facilitator here at Reentry at JCCC in Jefferson City, Missouri.
I think it's a little confusing. Nick, go ahead and say whatever it is you want to say. I hope that all three of you have it together, what you want to say, because this is your show. So go right ahead. Talk about whatever you wanted to get out there.
Oh, well, at this moment, we're currently trying to just build a resource line. We need a resource line. We have over 35 classes in which...
This call is from a correctional facility and may be monitored and recorded.
We need the resources to actually be able to provide an adequate measure of curriculum. We have mechanics class, automotive classes, without any true training behind it. It's just individuals who had either garages or some automotive training themselves, and they're just bringing it to the table to be able to teach others. And so we would just more support and understanding that we're providing society a certain product of humanity with limited resources at this moment. And we have support from the institution and staff, but it's not realized or acknowledged in society to its fullest potential. We strive towards... Yes, ma'am?
I'd like to ask some questions so the audience will get it straight, because with all the different things that you're all talking about, it's very confusing. Okay, one of the things I'd like to ask is the project that you're working on. What I understand, and I'm hoping the audience understands, is that you and the others are mentors with other incarcerated individuals. And by being their mentors, exactly what it is that you and the others do with these incarcerated individuals during your mentorship with them.
Well, first we assess where they are currently in life. We don't know what background they're going back to unless they feel comfortable enough to open up and actually express to us their problems. We go through a 8,500 hour training session to be able to be in this position as mentors and facilitators of reentry.
Okay.
Whenever our clients actually come through, they have to meet a certain criteria of three years out, and they can't be within 6 months, because what we're trying to provide to them is life-changing. And so we're geared more towards a skill-based program. Our project is specifically behavior altering. We understand that a lot of these gentlemen come from impoverished backgrounds and drug-infested backgrounds, and so we approach it as such.
So these are these are incarcerated individuals who are soon to be released, and you're preparing them for the outside. And how long have you been doing this?
Myself, 6 years.
So the program has only been 6 years, or it's been longer?
No, the program has been currently running for about 13 years.
Oh, okay. So all of you have been doing it for the past year or so. But now you mentioned something about funding. Now, what is how does that work, and what is it? You started to explain, but I wanted to get that part cleared out first. So if you can go on and talk about what the funding that you would need.
The funding that we would need specifically is material, textbooks, computers, adequate training, counselors to actually help train us to further our capabilities in being mentors and facilitators. We serve a lot of different roles as being mentors in this program to these gentlemen who are neglected. They don't know how to specifically express their frustrations, their needs at this moment, and so we would need funding specifically though towards better curriculum,
Understandable.
better training.
Understandable. And now, how if others wanted to donate towards the project that you are working on with these individuals, how would they? Can you give them the contact information, all the information that they would need to be able to contribute in some way to help out in whatever ways they can?
Our boss is a part of the institution.
This call is from a correctional facility and may be monitored and recorded.
His name is Alex Earls, and I will refer them to contact him down here in Jefferson City. I don't have the specifics because I'm incarcerated also, and we don't have access to that.
Okay, so but what the reason I'm asking is because you're mentioning funding, assistance with funds to run this program. So I think if anyone wants to help, they're going to, at some point in time, they'll need some place to send any funding that they're going to be sending to help out.
If I can interject here,
yes,
if
you will, please.
I guess kind of expound on where Nick was with the types of training and stuff that we as facilitators need. We've been attempting to get specialists in here because, as Nick stated, we cover a wide range with the other offenders, the clients within here of family counseling, crisis counseling, and where you and I have spoken prior to this, Leonna, on mental health issues, on substance abuse issues. We are attempting to get the state to bring counselors in here to certify us because we're already doing this on a daily basis. That way it can not only furthers our education, but if we're better prepared, then we can better prepare them when they leave here to be successful when they re-enter society. I hope that helps a little bit better.
Well, the thing is, with Blog Talk Radio, I've interviewed former wardens, I've interviewed former correctional officers, I've interviewed incarcerated individuals, I've interviewed a legislative member from Vermont who now has an American Union. He's for the they're for the causes. I've interviewed Society First. I've interviewed a lieutenant from the Department of Corrections in Montana. And Donna Wynette comes on. She talks about they're working on trying to bring in Department of Mental Health to get them involved in helping. So what we're primarily doing is trying to do exactly what you're talking about in getting independent providers, not contracted providers, because right now the contracted providers that Department of Correction nationwide has, they're not doing anything. They're inexperienced. They're inefficient. We're trying to get independent providers to start going in. So what you and Reggie and the others are talking about is an excellent idea. But what I'm trying to get to, if it's not right now, you're talking about funding, but at the same time you're saying right now you don't have that information. So what I'm trying to find out is the message that you're trying to get out to the audience. What is the message that you're trying to get out, other than the fact that you're trying to prepare these individuals for soon
you have 1 minute left
to be able to come out and be able to function and be successful in their reentry?
Our main message at this point is that long-term offenders, such as myself, this is Nicholas speaking to you, long-term offenders, we're paying our debt to society.
We know
we're
that.
In extensive hours, that ineffective procedures in which the major contractors are failing.
The caller has hung up.
The slack on that.
Exactly. That's
the message that we want to put out there, that we're willing to push as hard as possible. We just need a little help.
This is what this is what Blog Talk Radio is all about, shedding light, because that's we have 2.3 million people incarcerated in prisons, jails around the country. That's why I bring in these people that talk about the injustices that go on in these prisons. And the Department of Justice recently started talking about 6 ways in which they want to do this prison reform. And one of them is to abolish the death penalty. One of them is to actually get in sync with other countries. That the sentencing that they do in other countries, the maximum is 25 years, unless it's serial killers or terrorists. So we need to get in sync with other countries. And that's why I bring people on from other countries to talk about the comparison between the prisons in their country compared to the concentration camps in the United States. Marian Jacobs from the Netherlands, she wrote a book about suspended values in concentration camps in prisons, talking about the comparison between concentration camps and the similarities of the prisons in the United States. Brandao, a former 27-year warden, talks about the inhumane treatment that goes on in these prisons in the United States. He's been in the U.S. prisons. He's actually working with advocates in Texas now to do projects to reform these prisons. So right now, what you're talking about is exactly what we've been talking about right along. And I always try to emphasize the fact that they need people like you, like Reggie, like Jerry. They need people like others around the country, the older ones, the ones that have been in for a long time, to start working with these young people in the prisons, to start helping, because the correctional officers and the prison officials are doing absolutely nothing but making it worse for them. So the people now are starting to understand the injustices that go on in the prisons and in law enforcement. My focus is on defunding until we see some positive interaction with prison officials and staff and the incarcerated individuals. Defunding unless we see positive interaction for those in the communities with the law enforcement. So what you guys are talking about is excellent, because that's exactly what we, and that's what I wanted all of you to talk about, is why you want to see these changes, why you want to do these things.
Well, I'm actually the youngest on the roster of the change that we're speaking of. I'm only 29 years old. I've been incarcerated since I was 19, and I'm currently fighting life without in 20 years.
And this is another thing.
I am.
Exactly. Life without parole seems to be the norm. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Correct. Yes, I've been incarcerated since I was 19. So I was a teenager, And when I came through, at this point, it's been 10 years, and I haven't had any true guidance when it comes to striving for betterment. I had to do it myself. Now, I was able to surround myself with gentlemen who, such as Reginald and Jerry, and the rest of my team. It's 22 of us that are pushing for this. And we have no exposure. No one sees, no one hears about the crime of unforgiveness. There's a lot of gentlemen who are still incarcerated simply because they're not going to be forgiven. And they've become victims to, they've served 36. I have a gentleman on my team right now who served 36 years. There's nothing else he can do besides pass away behind these cages. There's nothing else he can do.
Audience, I want to...
He's done everything.
I just want to interrupt 1 minute. Audience, this is why I say all the time, we need to push for the media to go into the prisons and meet with the incarcerated individuals. They report one-sided stories. They report things that happen in the prison. If it affects,
and may be monitored and recorded.
If it affects the prison officials or prison employees, they don't report the good things that prisoners are actually doing, the incarcerated individuals are actually doing. This is why, audience, and I always ask that you please contact the media and start challenging them to go into these prisons and meet with these people. These people need a voice. And these people are depending on help from the outside. They have been put in prison to serve their time, many wrongfully convicted, many first-time offenders, many victims who became offenders because of the injustice that goes on. We need to push for the media to go into these prisons and meet with these incarcerated individuals. I'm going to turn it back over to you. I'm really sorry, Nick. I just need to get these things out because I was unclear. And we have somebody in the background. I don't know how that can be resolved, but if we can get it quiet in the background, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. No, I love the enthusiasm because these times become dark after a while if you don't have a certain spark of energy. You know, it's hard. It's extremely hard to maintain to fight for betterment. And up until this point, this is our first opportunity that we've had as a program, as a team, to truly step outside of these cages and speak to the public on a mass level. And like I said, someone such as myself, I'm a rarity. Majority of the individuals that are my age, they don't see the hope in what I'm doing. I would have to truly show them and be the example of it. They don't see the necessity for I have a life sentence at 25. What do I need to change right now? And so that's one of the battles and challenges that we face as individuals that's trying to change things. And we're going to change it. We're going to change it. Regardless of what comes off of this, I appreciate the opportunity to speak to everyone. Like I said, my name is Nicholas Thomas, number 1272359. And I appreciate you all's time to listen to us. I hope you all reach out and help in any way. We're open for all support. All support.
904, do you want to state your name, please?
Yes, I sit here listening to the broadcast. First of all, my name is Tarhaka Amana L. Bay, and I'm calling you from Jacksonville, Florida.
I'm sorry, can you speak up a little bit louder?
I say my name is Tarhaka Amana L. Bay, and I'm calling you from Jacksonville, Florida.
Uh-huh.
Can you hear me?
Welcome.
Okay. I was listening to the young man. Is he inside the prison?
Yes.
Okay. I teach contract law. And what a lot of people don't know is people, by them not knowing the law, they are in there voluntarily. I know that sounds fantastic, but if you look at any bill that comes to your house, including your bank statements, credit card, social security number, driver's license, any of that, your nomin, what you think is a name, is in all capital letters. And that's how they are incarcerating people. The same thing goes on inside the courthouse. And I've challenged them on that many different times, because when we was in grade school, our third grade grammar teacher taught us the difference between a proper noun and an improper noun.
You have 1 minute left.
A proper noun, when it comes to a man and a woman, is always in upper and lowercase letters. But if all the letters are capital, that indicates anything other than a man or a woman. And we don't stop it at the main gate, and we volunteer. Just like if you go to a cemetery and you look at the gravestones, all the grave names on the gravestones, all the information on there is in all caps. That's because everybody in there is dead. Now, when the capital letters come along, then that means chattel, property, slave, corpse, corporation. Look it up in your Black's Law Dictionary or any major dictionary, including the dictionaries that lawyers are using to say the same thing. So if you have
Leonna, I'd like to comment on what the gentleman's saying.
Please do.
It's Jerry. This is Jerry Husky. I'm currently here at the Jefferson City Correctional Center also, and yes, we are incarcerated, sir. Me, Nicholas Thomas, and Reginald Clemons are all together. We are me and Nicholas are facilitators within the reentry program here at this prison, which we do our best to help clients, right, which are other offenders who are getting ready to go home. They are anywhere from 3 years backwards, from 3 years to 6 months within the time of getting out. But I wanted to comment on what the gentleman's saying. The reason, and you're right, sir, I do have a paralegal degree, right? The reason that a person's name is in all capital letters, like he was stating, is it becomes a corporation. And you're right. The only way,
correctional facility and may be monitored and recorded.
The only way around that, as you know, if you're well versed in the law, right, is through sovereignty, which most people that are incarcerated have no idea what sovereignty is, much less how to utilize tools to free themselves under the sovereignty laws within the United States. So, I mean, for most of us, that is not really an option. And the books that are entailed to be obtained to complete that sovereignty, they stop them from coming in here claiming that they're a safety and security issue. I currently have one of my friends that tried to order the books, and they did not allow them to come in. The problem is like we had been speaking before, Leonna, is based on the fact that just like here recently, Missouri has stopped all incoming mail. It all is gone down through a digital mail center down in Florida now. They digitize our mail because they claimed it was safety and security and a drug risk. Well, they found out, as you know, Prison Legal News reported on that 2 months ago or 3 months ago, based on, you know what I'm saying, stating that that was not the problem. The number of ODs has actually increased. So, but I want to get us back on track about, I mean, I understand total that sovereignty is in there, and Nick is well versed with that also about why our names are all in capital letters, but that really doesn't have anything to do.
No, he mentioned something about corporations. And this is one of the things that the people I've been interviewing from Amsterdam, from the Netherlands, have been talking about. The large corporations making money off of modern-day slavery, you might say, in the United States. And I don't know if that's what you were referring to, caller 904, the large corporations that are...
Oh, yeah.
That are making money.
The thing is this right here, it goes beyond that. I have to give you a case in point of what actually happened in real life here in Jacksonville, Florida between me and the sheriff of the city. See, I went and gathered up all the Supreme Court rulings on my right to travel without a driver's license, without a license plate, any of that. And I sent him a copy of it, simply asking him if he would be kind enough to let me know if the information that I've sent him is incorrect. And they contacted me back and told me, well, the laws here state that you need a driver's license, and you need to do this and you need to do that. So I turned it around and sent it to him this time in a lawful affidavit, letting them know that if you interfere with my rights, as a living, breathing man, I'm not a corporation, not a fiction, not Negro, colored, black, none of that. I have a nationality and all this here. So he ran and got a team of lawyers on the other side of town. They contacted me. I sent them the same affidavit. They backed down and told him, you on your own. So he gave me in charge and said, well, look, don't stop this dude until we figure this thing out, and they never did.
Monitored and recorded.
So what happened was, after they were thrown under the bus, there was no way that they could come and say, well, look, the state of Florida, our laws is this, that, and the other. I said, well, first of all, you're dealing with legal and illegal, and that doesn't have anything to do with the law. I said, the law don't show up until I do.
Well, we already know about, first of all, we already know about Jacksonville, Florida, because those three innocent people were slaughtered by the white man. But we also know that DeSantis is a racist politician running for president. So we already know what to expect out of Florida. So what you're talking about is something that you probably expected anyway, because that's what Florida is all about. I'm going to be interviewing a young man tomorrow who was in prison, African-American, who is already put in to run for the presidential campaign. And his name is Andy Williams, Jr. And he's going to be talking every Tuesday at 5:30 Eastern Daylight Time about a lot of these things that all of you are talking about right now. And then Wednesday, the warden from Amsterdam is going to be on. He talks about the injustices in these prisons. And Thursday is going to be Marion Jacobs. So everything that you're talking about right now, I hate to say it, my brother, but we are already aware of all this, especially where you come from. It's all over the country. But that's why we have mass incarceration in this dysfunctional country, because of the injustices that go on. That's why we have so many wrongfully convicted in the prisons. That's why we have so many victims who became offenders and are serving life without in death row, especially in Texas with Governor Abbott. He's handicapped himself, and I think he can't stand the fact that people that are physically fit are behind those prison walls. He doesn't take into effect that they themselves were pushed, many of them pushed into crime. But he's quick to execute, and he's executing more prisoners next week. The media needs to get involved. The media reports one-sided stories. You never hear of the media going to prison or their loved ones, their friends, their family, nothing. Just like law enforcement. The media needs to get involved, and we need to push for that.
Well, you're absolutely correct about that. Absolutely. But if you will pay attention to what the judges are telling you, they said there's no excuse for you not knowing the law. And see, inside this country here, we have legal and illegal. That doesn't have anything to do with the law. And once you learn the law, you can defend yourself.
The judges are corrupt too. And a lot of these lawyers, they're working both sides. They'll take your money, they'll fight for the other side.
That's right. That's why I'm telling you and everybody else need to learn the law. I teach this stuff. I run my own Blogtalk radio show. You come to my home, there is no address because I'm not a resident. I'm in my home.
What is your name again?
My name is Tarhaka, Tarhaka.
What is the name of your radio show?
There's Morris Talk Live 100 on Blog Talk Radio. If you just type my name into YouTube or Google, everything on me will come up. Tarhaka Amana L. Bay.
How do you spell it?
Tarhaka. Amana is spelled Ammaana, and then L-E-L, and then Bay, B-E-Y.
Okay, I'll check that out. I need, I'm going to need to talk to you another time too.
I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, I would. I mean, to answer his, and it's
This
true,
call is from a correctional
right?
facility and may be monitored and recorded.
Of the law that a lot of people don't truly get involved in. So you truly have to equip yourself with that type of knowledge. You don't see that it's a necessity to have it. And so whenever I first came down, I had a necessity to gain a comprehension of the law because I have life without. My life was on the line. But when you don't have the immediate desperation to want to comprehend something such as the law, which is written in a different language most of the time, you don't see the necessity to even try to acquire it. It doesn't apply to your life. And so you have a lot of individuals such as anyone under 25 years old right now, they don't see the necessity to know the law outside of what I can do with the law, not necessarily how do I defend myself with it. So it's not a tool right now in society. It's not a tool, it's a guideline, it's not a tool.
You know what they're trying to do? They're trying to raise the age of responsibility too to 25, and if it passes, hopefully it goes retroactive to all those people in prison who had gone in when they were 25 and under, because they say the age, and right now they're focused on, in some areas I think they already did approve for 21, but they're trying to go up, bring it up, and psychiatrists and psychologists have said the same thing. 25 years of age, sometimes 26 years of age, where the age of responsibility should be raised. That's another thing that they're working on. But
there's one other thing I think that we need to consider, the fact that everything in America operates under a continuous series of contracts under what's called contract law. Whoever creates the contract, it benefits them. The problem is we have been reacting to everybody else's contract instead of formulating our own contract and sending it the other way. Your birth certificate is a contract. That's a bond. And when you gain control of that, then you start changing stuff.
Yeah.
If I went to jail right now and they ask me, I get to the courtroom and they ask me, how do I plead? I said, I'm not here to enter a plea. I'm here to settle a tax matter. That's why I'm here. And you understand that when you study the law.
Let me interject on that. Hello, Leonna. This is Joe. How you doing?
Good. How you doing, Joe?
Okay. I think you know that I'm a person that believes that the incarcerated...
You have 1 minute left.
For them to get out, they should have rehabilitation so that they can become continuous offenders, to the normal general public. But I think what this caller is going to talk about is how you're going to plead in front of a judge, and I think that he's about to say something along the lines of the philosophy of those who preach sovereignty. I'm a sovereign citizen, therefore I don't have to follow the rules of the state. Am I right in that?
No, you're incorrect. There's no such thing as a sovereign citizen. It does not exist. You cannot be a servant and a king at the same time. I'm going to have to hang up. Y'all have a nice day.
Oh, it's too bad, because I wanted to ask you about that defense of yours about how to plead. I'm here for a tax matter when somebody gets arrested for carjacking. Okay.
Okay, so where are we now? Jeez.
Well,
okay.
He hung up, so we're not gonna have any discussion on that. Do you have two guys on your show running for president of the United States?
And may be monitored and recorded.
Okay. Okay, continue.
Do you have two people at any time saying they're running for the president of the United States coming on your show?
Tomorrow at 5:30 Eastern Daylight Time. As a matter of fact,
you have an Andy.
His name
You
is
have an Andy Williams.
Andy Williams.
Junior, and you have a Reginald Clemons.
Well, Reginald Clemons is running this show today, and he and his team, and they are the mentors for the incarcerated reentering society. So they have been mentoring the incarcerated individuals soon to be released.
Oh, okay. Because I thought he was also running for president.
No. These are mentors.
Oh, okay.
That's right.
These are mentors. Now, which one is on? Nick?
Yeah.
Nick or Jerry?
No, it's Nick still.
Okay, Nick, what were you saying?
No, I was just gonna kind of redirect everything back towards the efforts in which we were speaking of earlier. Our current model that we've adopted is to make incarcerated individuals more financially literate. There's a lot of individuals who they're released from prison, but they're not really released back into society. On a physical sense, yeah, they're not behind a barbed wire fence, but they're not really a part of society. They don't really know who their alderman is. They don't know who the city councilman is. They don't know why they pay certain taxes. They don't know why the sewage is a certain price. They don't really involve themselves in society. And when they do, it's possibly to just break the law, and then they come back to prison, then they'll let back out to the void where they're not really a part. And so we're breaking that specific stigma of our mindset by bringing more applicable requirements to survive in society behind the fence. So we brought a banking system, and the banking system is attached directly to the behaviors in which are displayed, whether they're positive or negative. They have jobs. It's a real scenario of trying to survive in the midst of the pressures of day-to-day society. Maybe they're not driving down the street, but you still have the pressures of prison and prison life and trying to do well with all the temptations and everything that's around you. So that's our effort and our model that we're actually utilizing as we approach the recidivism rate. A lot of people know about Missouri. It's through the roof. It's crazy.
Missouri does have a reputation for wrongful convictions. I mean, I've interviewed 4 people that have been wrongfully convicted in Missouri, 2 women and 2 males. And even in Georgia, there's a Jan Banning from the Netherlands that's been advocating for Christine Boyle in Georgia. And there's Franz Kurz from Germany who's been interviewing Shane Crum and Donald Glenn in Ohio. So there's people in other countries that are advocating for the incarcerated in America because the people in America are too good. Seems like they think they're too good to try to help these people incarcerated. But I was going to say also, Nick, the Department of Corrections gets funding to provide supportive aftercare resources. And I notice a lot of states, they don't mention anything about it. So when these people are ready to come out, they have nowhere to go. But in Massachusetts, the people have been getting out of prison that have been in for years and years, and the Department of Corrections has been placing them in aftercare resources, in transitional housing. And a lot of them have gotten they've gotten their license back, they've gotten jobs, they've got a place to stay. I don't know why it's not happening in other states. Something is definitely not right because they're getting funding to do this.
You know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see mentoring of parents.
It's the investment of the creativity. So whenever we actually start creating a pipeline out of society or out of incarceration back into society, it wouldn't be to a transitional house. This individual, he's suffering from way more than just not having a home to go to. He's suffering from prison. It's traumatizing. When I mean traumatizing, like you're truly separated on the island, and a lot of people don't realize that, hey, I have maybe 25 gentlemen right now who are afraid to go back to society because they don't relate. In 6 months, the whole world has changed for them.
Exactly.
And now they've been incarcerated 2 or 3 years, and just imagine, by 30 years, he's alien to society. He doesn't even feel like he really fits in. Those same desires which he would have, they don't exist.
Exactly.
And so when you're talking about a man that's truly been taken from everything, he's on an island, he's isolated, he's attacked daily, he has a stigma on him, he's battling internal demons in which, how do I not relapse? How do I not reoffend? How do I not slip and fall and then go back to a place that I know I probably might not ever leave? And so he's battling so much, and I'm an individual where I'm aware of really re-entering society and people not having nothing in their pocket. I could just imagine going home with no one, no family, no nothing. Everyone has passed away or moved on, and you've been forgotten. Like, that's how serious that this has become whenever we tie into reentry. It needs to be more of an effort of humanity.
Is there any effort, any kind of movement to help parents, to mentor parents so that they can mentor their kids, so that their kids don't have to grow up with the possibility of going to jail?
Mentoring the parents?
Yeah, because I always blame everything on the parents.
The thing is, though, we have to look, and I say this all the time, prison is a stereotype, and every situation is different. Cultures is very important because there's different cultures even under one roof in a home, in a family home. But what happens is there's cultures where some people are brought up in the cities, they're in drug-infested areas, some are from domestic violent homes, some of them are from well-to-do areas, but they mess up so badly that their loved ones can't save them. Like we have right now in politics, all these people protecting their loved ones because they're in politics. But every situation is different. Every situation is different. And people, one of the things we can't look at all the time are the parents, because sometimes it's members of society themselves that fail these people. And we look at just like Brandao from Amsterdam, these people from other countries, they see it themselves, what's going on in this country. They say it themselves. This country is full of racism. It's full of corruption and deception and lies. They say it themselves. These are people watching the United States. We may be watching other countries, but they're watching this country. And they talk about the injustices that go on. So it's not always the parent. It's the area where they were raised. A lot of them without fathers, a lot of them without siblings, a lot of them without mothers. They have no support. So when they fall, everybody's ready to jump in.
Yeah, that's why they need the support. Yeah. But children grow up in homes, whether or not the homes are broken or not. They grow up in homes. The parents have the first authority over the kids. And if they know how to teach their kids how to be responsible and give the kids love and the proper amount of discipline, they can teach these kids to resist the temptation of going into gangs or of feeling despair.
The caller has hung up.
Now, if you've got parents themselves who are dysfunctional, they're not going to give the kids the right upbringing. That's why the parents need to be mentored.
But you know what I was saying the other day, Joe, and this makes a lot of sense too. A lot of parents, like Franz, I was impressed with him from the Netherlands because he was talking about his children. He has a couple of sons, but he was talking about the tightness with his family. And he really, you can tell he loves his children the way he was talking. We have people, unfortunately, that are raising their children, teaching them to hate, spending all that prime time with their kids, teaching them how to hate somebody that's different from them. We have to look at that too. We have to look at the fact that these people are raising their children to hate. So what happens is, look at that, what happened in Jacksonville. I was just talking about it before you called. This young white male goes and kills these 3 innocent blacks, And then he left a message for his father to go on his internet, to go on his computer or go for a letter to let his father know. He was letting his father know, you can be proud of me, Dad. I did what you taught me how to do, to hate somebody of a different race. And this is what we have in America right now. We have people that are so busy trying to teach their loved ones how to hate that not only are they killing the people of color, but they're killing themselves after, so they don't have to go to prison for life. And that's what we have to start looking at, is teaching these young men and young women as well how to be loved and how to love others, and not just like disabled ones. People make fun of people that are disabled. Look at, like I said, with Governor Abbott, he's in a wheelchair. He can never get out of that wheelchair. His anger is so great that he has the highest rates of, in the death penalty, the highest rates of execution. People, they're looking at their own internal pain instead of looking at the pain of others.
Well, that's why people need to be mentored. People need to have some sort of guidance.
Reginald Clemons again, if I may speak. Yes, I would like to speak to that, because one of the things that when it comes to that pain and that childhood trauma and that upbringing and a negative, hateful mindset, right, that is derived from abuse. Earlier, I know Nicholas Thomas was talking about how we need the aid and assistance of professionals. We are able to aid and assist one another. We have been able to aid and assist one another in a peer-to-peer fashion, right? Because we can think, but it would be real helpful if we had professionals to help guide us and help us navigate through those pains that people deal with. The best tool that we have at our disposal right now is called a fifth step. If anybody ever been in recovery, they'd understand what a fifth step is. And it's where you go through your inventory of your childhood. You go through all the things that you've experienced in your life that you consider negative, and where you feel like you've been attacked and where you feel like you've been wrong. And that's to unload those resentments. But the fifth step is not a match for someone who's a trained counselor or a trained psychologist, right? Or a trained therapist. I recognize that I have therapeutic value, right? Because I've helped a lot of people. But in the course of that, I've also recognized some of the places where my limitations are. And when we look at criminal behavior and these criminal patterns, all this self-hatred, because before you look at me as something instead of someone, and before you hurt me, you have to look at me as something instead of someone. You have to first hate yourself and feel denigrated yourself, because the more a person values themselves, the more they value others. As I liken it to people show the amount of respect that they have for themselves. So that hatred that people are showing, it's fear-based, especially racial hatred. You hear all that fear and animosity, and a lot of times when people speak negatively about somebody else, they're telling you about their own character makeup. They say somebody else is dishonest, everybody admires cheaters. No, everybody's not admires cheaters. For the most part, a lot of people are honest, straightforward. But we have these fringe groups and this fringe mentality that we have to figure out how to reach. And I know this program is one way where we do reach people from all types of backgrounds, from gang affiliation, from hateful, racial, bias backgrounds. I'm saying people that was raised by Ku Klux Klan that have swastikas tattooed on them, who are full-fledged racists when they come to us, for us to try and welcome them back into humanity and embrace them. And we have to set aside our own natural defensive response and meet their anger and hate and self-hatred with compassion.
I'd like to ask you a question.
It's hard.
You have Ku Klux Klan members coming to you, and or white Aryan Nation people coming to you, and you manage to turn them around so that when they get out of prison, they no longer hate black people or anybody else.
Yes. There's a lot of people that have gone through it's called the Intensive Therapeutic Community, which is ITC. It's a 13-month program. It's a lot like the Betty Ford Clinic, and it has turned people around and that have that racial hatred in them. It helps to temper it. It might not eliminate it, but it tempers it enough to the point that a person can be respectful and not as hateful as they have been.
Is that as a result of if they know they're going to be released from prison and they don't want to come back in?
Right now who has a bunch of racist tattoos, who's now a mentor in the program to help other people turn their life around and not be racist.
Wow, that's awesome.
When these people leave your program and they go outside and they now become citizens again, and they reintegrate within the population of the United States, do they still maintain their changed points of view? Do they adapt well, and do they become useful citizens again without having any type or without a lot of racial bias?
Could you ask that question again? I missed some of it because of the bad connection that we have.
Oh, okay. Some of the people that you say come to you, like the KKK and other, Aryan types of groups, once they leave and they go outside and they readapt to society, do they adapt well enough so that most, if not all, of their racial bias and hatred that you're talking about is eliminated?
Okay. I doubt, I was saying, being realistic, I doubt if all their racial hatred and biases are eliminated, right? What I can say is that we have, as a collective whole, as a collective group and community of individuals who, a team that works together, we've been able to help individuals find their common humanity to an extent that when they do get out, they don't reoffend and they don't go out with a hatred and animosity to the level that they would hurt somebody or commit crimes. So the threat of racism is neutralized, and the bias is neutralized enough to where they are more considerate than they once were.
I want to say real quickly, I want to say something to this because I mentioned this last week on one of the shows. There was a young man, he was a skinhead, and he destroyed the Jewish cemetery years ago, destroyed a Jewish cemetery. Well, what happened, it turned out that this young man was a skinhead. They didn't know, his own people didn't know he had black in him. He was African American inside, but he looked white. So this is why people come out of prison. They may change inside, but when they come out, if they hang around the same people that they were hanging around with, that when they went in, these people were bad influences then, it's going to happen again. Sometimes when you, just like an alcoholic, when you give up drinking, you have to get away from those who are drinking, or you're going to pick up those bad habits again.
And that's absolutely correct. And that's one, because I'm saying in the tradition of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, and Narcotics Anonymous, and the various anonymous groups dealing with weight and shopaholics, workaholics, you have to change both your habits and your association if you want to change your life. So I agree 100%. And one of the things we definitely advocate, we work to get a person to realize is that they do need to change their association. Or else they'll be drawn back off into that same mindset. And that's one of the things we do work on. So that's definitely a very powerful, potent point.
I wanted to say something else, too. Crime is on the rise. We know that. And right now, I can understand why, with everything divided in this country, with these legislative members, with these politicians. But, you know, crime is on the rise. And what I want people to realize is that those who are incarcerated, that have been incarcerated for like 20, 25 years, all these years, like one, I think it was you, Reginald, or was Nicholas that said, or Jerry, that said, all these years that you've been inside, coming out now would be like coming into a strange, like another planet. So one of the things people have to realize is, even though crime is on the rise, these people who have been incarcerated for the last 20 years or more, they have changed. And the crimes back then are totally different than what's happening today. Back then it was using weapons, but not like it is today. It was using fists, it was using knives, but not like it is today. But people have to realize that those who have served 20 years and more, 25, 30 years and more, they deserve to have a second chance. The ones that are out in the communities now, they need to serve some time because their crimes are escalating. And we have no control over what's going on today. People are robbing jewelry stores. They're going into homes and everything else, broad daylight. So this is just something I wanted to say.
I wasn't the one that said that it's like going to another planet, but I definitely can theoretically agree with that. I've been locked up for 32 years, and I've been trying to keep up with technology as much as I possibly can, and the ways of society and the attitude, the temperament of society, so that if I do get out, I can begin to live my life in a positive, productive way. But I'm saying I know that there's nothing that's preparing me for the shock of stepping back out there and nothing is the same.
No.
Visually, that nothing is the same. Socially, because after 32 years, I'm not the same. I'm not the same child I was at 19 years old.
No.
Because children are selfish. I'm saying I look for opportunities to serve, give, and sacrifice because I'm an adult now. I've grown up. I've talked to the right people while I've been incarcerated. And I've grown up into a nice, mature man. And I thank God and I thank my mother's love for that. But if I was released, no, I'm not coming back to prison. That's the last thing I have to worry about. One of the things that I'm going to be doing is what I'm doing now, and that's fighting to bring down the crime rate.
Exactly.
Because I know how sick some of these people can get because of the crimes that they've committed. At the same time, I understand from talking to people incarcerated what is behind the mentality of crime. And that's what we have to deal with, the spirit of it. And so I pray, first and foremost, prayer works. And that's what I'll be doing, is praying over this program and praying that God lifts the air. And I pray prayer and love works better than hope.
We have an epidemic. We have an epidemic in this country, and that epidemic is mental health, mental illnesses, and addictions. Until they stop putting these people in facilities where they get treated,
this call is from a correctional facility and may be monitored and recorded.
They're just going to keep throwing people behind those prison walls, and they're going to try to build more prisons. And this is so wasteful of everyone's taxpayer dollars. They need to start up these facilities, these mental institutions like they used to have, but much better. They need to have oversight of the prisons. They need to have oversight of these mental health facilities, long-term. They need to have oversight of even these nonprofit organizations that claim to help. They need to have oversight of the American Civil Liberties Union, which does absolutely nothing for no one, and they're getting all this funding. They need to have oversight of everything in every area, because as long as they keep throwing people in prison like cattle, they're not resolving anything. They're making people worse than when they went in. So if they ever do come out, society is going to be at more risk, because the providers that they contract with, like WellPath, which is in 36 or 37 states, WellPath's owner or founder is in prison himself. They need cheap labor, so they hire these kind of contracted providers that do absolutely nothing but permanently damage people that are incarcerated. Our government's at fault, because our government should be doing more to try to resolve these issues, instead of letting the prison unions run the show.
Can I say something, sister?
I've been talking to her.
What was that?
Hello?
Can I say something?
Yeah, I've been talking to her.
Joe?
Hey, Schultz?
Joe?
No, that's not me. That's another caller.
No, this is Tarhaka.
Oh.
Can you hear me?
Well, Joe brought up a point. He brought up a point earlier that I wanted to answer to real quick. I'll make it brief, I promise. Because you said, do we have any evidence or proof of what it is that of an individual that was turned around from racism, whose life, they turned their life around, and when they got out, they didn't reoffend or continue with hate crimes and stuff.
I think Joe.
We're working on building out a website for 2030. I'm sending Leonna, I'm sending you some documentation of Nicholas Thomas credentials, and we're going to be putting out the resumes of the facilitators. And we're going to start putting documentation out there about the program and about the individuals in the program who are willing to have their information out there, and about the facilitators, so that people out there can know, yes, this is really working. So yeah, I look forward to answering that question in a real time and in a real way of action. And that's what it is we need to do. We need to generate documentation, that reviewable documentation, so that we can statistically figure out what works and doesn't work also.
Well, that's good, because I like statistics. Yeah.
Okay, we have 17 more minutes, so who wants to speak next?
Well, I would like to say a few words, if I could. What we are witnessing right now is a close-up and personal account of a major wealth divide between rich and poor in this country. And what is happening is people are panicking, and they would do anything in order to acquire something just for their basic needs of survival. So this is what we're witnessing. The wealth gap is too large. And the wider it gets, the more crime and degradation and all kinds of stuff going to go on.
There's not going to be any such thing as an average citizen. You know, it's going to be poor and it's going to be wealthy. That's it. We can see it coming down the pipe.
Well, you're absolutely correct. But what I'm saying is the gap is too wide. We got people walking in the stores in gangs, just breaking in there, buzzing up counters, taking jewelry, and just coming out as gangs and stuff. That means the wealth gap is too wide. And so what we're going to have to do is realize that, first of all, we are all one nation of people, and all of us in the same boat. We don't have time for racism and all this kind of stuff. Same thing happened in World War II. When the soldiers and the soldiers, they said, well, we don't want We don't want the brothers over here with us. But when the Japs start cutting off heads up there, and the brothers went up there and helped and said, well, look, we ain't going back up no more unless they go with us. Same people. We ain't got time for no racism. I mean, we got China, we got Russia, we got all these people that want to destroy us. They ain't trying to divide against who they gonna kill. They kill everybody. So we got to tighten up and realize, hold on, all of us in the same boat. All of us.
You know, the men that have been they're running the show every Monday. I'm just like facilitating for them, opening up so they can speak. They're not on now. It's you and Joe. But I want to say something. One of the things that I think is so ridiculous in this country is that this country was blessed to have wealth. It was blessed to have everything. This country above all other countries. And yet people found little things, pigmentation, social status. People found little things to fight about, to come up and do all this injustice and inhumane, and it doesn't even make sense. If we all realize that everybody in this country is a representative of their own countries throughout the world, and if everybody realized that it's not about color, it's about pigmentation in the skin. You know, everything started in a country, a continent that was of color, and everybody migrated, some above the equator, some below the equator. It's about pigmentation, and yet people will have black dogs and brown dogs, their pets. They love their pets, but yet they can't come together as human beings and try to work to resolve issues that are going on in this country. And there's a lot of people that are so insecure that they want to follow, not be leaders, but followers of their association so that they fit in. But that's not letting them be leaders. That's letting them be followers of those they want to impress. So if people in society would just do their own thing, feel the feelings that they have, don't be influenced by your peers. Because your peers, if anything, God forbid, happened and anybody ended up in prison, those peers are not going to be there for you. They're going to move on. So I want everybody to know it's about love. It's about compassion and mercy, forgiveness. It's about humanity. And don't try to influence people that could care less about you if you were to go to prison. Because a lot of these people that you're trying to follow are followers themselves. It's like you can't build a house big enough for your neighbor can't build a house big enough for their neighbor. Everybody's trying to reach the top. So they spend the rest of their lives trying to impress other people instead of speaking out. They might not like you for speaking out. They might not like you for being a leader, but they like you. They respect you. They may not like you. They may be envious because you have a voice. Their voice is not their own. Their voice is their peers that they're trying to impress. So I want everybody in the audience to know something. You can be a leader or you can be a follower. And if you're going to be a leader, then you're not trying to oppress anybody. Think about what's right and wrong. Everybody knows the difference between right and wrong. You can tell in the interaction you have with other people. If it's going right, you're going to have that good interaction. If it's not going right, you're going to be trying to influence somebody else or some other groups or some other culture that wants to be on top of everything. You came into this world with nothing, you're going out with nothing. Now, I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Joe, what your thoughts are on that Takara, that's a hard name to pronounce.
Don't worry about it. That's close enough, Susan. I'm in 100% agreement with you. It's all right.
It makes so much sense, though. I mean, leadership or followers, it's one of two. It's like you can't serve two masters. One is of good and one is of evil. That's what we have to look at in society today. We know what's right and what's wrong. And to hate somebody because of their disability or because of their pigmentation or because they're disabled, whatever the case may be, to hate somebody for something they have no control over is a waste of everybody's time. And it causes so much pain, sorrow, and suffering.
You know, that just goes back to the real problem, Leonna. That's mental issues. People like to hurt other people. There are hurt people who hurt people, and there are people who just like to hurt people because that's the way they are.
It doesn't make sense. People getting a thrill out of hurting other people, that means that they were either brought up to hate and to hurt, or they were being abused themselves as children. I look at these deranged people that have done all this, what do you call it, mutilating and all that, and I wonder, what did they go through as kids to have that kind of hate so defamed, so dangerous? I mean, how can anybody completely slaughter another human being?
That's talk, because you can take a child from any race and put them children out there, they're running plays and all day long. But when they get around the misinformed parents, the parents are the ones that the child looks up to, and it's being infused into the brain of the child.
Exactly.
That's what's happening.
That's why I say I don't blame Donald Trump for being the way he is, because this is the way he was raised. I feel bad for his youngest son, because that child is going to grow up not knowing what love is. I don't think Donald Trump knows what love is. And Joe Biden, here he is protecting his own son from going to prison, and yet he's having a difficult time releasing or helping people that are in prison for less than that. So sometimes I wonder if these politicians become leaders just so they can protect their own loved ones. And that's what it seems like once they get in positions.
That's like most of them, in my opinion, are psychopaths. They get drawn to the power. Usually, a person who has a person who has a normal, healthy mindset doesn't want to go out there and do anything more than just come home to his family, play with his kids, and work, drink some beer, go to bed, have a barbecue on the weekends, associate with the family, have fun, and that's it. When you have people who are constantly running for office and constantly, when they're in office, want to stay in office, and you see them that they don't give a damn and they don't do anything, it's because they never cared about the people to begin with. They wanted power. That was it. I don't trust anybody in Congress, and I don't trust a single person in Congress.
Mm-mm. You know, I voted for 5 people in Massachusetts for positions, and not only did I vote for them, I promoted them, and I even donated to one of them monies that I didn't even have. But the thing is, after that, it's almost as though that's it. They forget about you. And I don't vote every year. I don't vote every 4 years. Even though my birthday was on Inauguration Day, I don't vote. And after the experience I went through this past year, or last year, I will never vote again. I don't care who they put in anymore, because one is as bad as the next, whether it be Democrat or Republican.
That's what I keep saying. It doesn't matter. Do you know Harry Truman said something about 50 years ago, which is applicable to today? He said he never knew a politician who, when they entered office as an honest person, came out as an honest person. Okay?
I believe it.
So even if you went in there, yeah, he is right. Even if you went in there as an honest person, you're going to be tempted by the lobbyists and the special interests and the money. And they don't care about the common man.
Well, what we're dealing with here today is, the United States of America filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy in April 1933, and they're still operating in that same bankruptcy. And anytime you hear the word democracy, just throw that away, because we're not dealing with a country, we're dealing with a conglomerate of corporations. And a corporation cannot have citizens, it can only have employees. And we have to understand that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every country around the world, they got emperors, kings, queens, dukes, duchesses. We got presidents, just like Walmart, Sears and Roebuck, Woolworths. That's what we're dealing with. A conglomerate of corporations. A corporation can't have citizens, they can only have employees. And that is why every time they deal with you, your name is in all caps.
You know what they have, too?
A corporation can only deal with another corporation.
What they have, too, in politics, they have entertainers. Look, Clint Eastwood was a mayor of what state? and Arnold Schwarzenegger was a governor of California. You got even Vladimir Zelensky in Ukraine. He was a comedian. You know, we look at all of these entertainers and we wonder. I mean, I don't even wonder. I know that they can act even as president or prime ministers or whatever the case may be. They can really pull the wool over a lot of people's eyes because they know how to do it. But politicians that are entertainers, to me, should not be entertained. They should not be in politics. They know how to act. But I want to thank you guys for coming on, Joe. I want to thank you as always. You're always ready to contribute, and I want to also thank you, Tarhaka, for coming on and talking about what you were talking. And I hope that you come on. And tomorrow, as I said, I will be interviewing Andy Williams Jr., who is running for the presidency, and also Wednesday will be Brandao, former warden from Amsterdam, and Thursday I will be interviewing Marion Jacobs, psychosocial therapist from the Netherlands, who also wrote the book Suspended Values in Concentration Camps and Prisons, comparing concentration camps with prisons in the United States. We will be interviewing them. Brandao will be on with us 2 o'clock Eastern Time Wednesday, Marion Jacobs 1 o'clock Eastern Time Thursday, and tomorrow with Andy Williams Jr. it will be 5:30 Eastern Time, 5:30 p.m. So come on, join us and tell us what you think. Provide some feedback, ask questions, comments, whatever the case may be. Shedding Light is to bring awareness. And if anyone wants to come on to ask questions, to give feedback, to tell their story, to talk about it, just come on. That's what it's about. And I hope more people will get involved. We are the people. We are the government. And if we can't exercise our rights and talk about these issues, we're not going to get it, as Joe said, we're not going to get it from the people in power because they're all about themselves.
Hey, you know what I would like, Leonna? I would like for you to have more political candidates on your show, and then allow me free reign to grill them the way that I want to. They may never come back on your show again, but at least it'd be fun.
You know, I'd like to invite back with us. I'd like to invite Brian Winters. Brian Winters was a politician in Vermont, and he is now the founder of An American Union. And he doesn't pick Democrats or Republicans. What he does is he supports, at the time, those who are for his cause. One of his causes is mass incarceration. So Brian Winters, I'd like to invite him back. I will say Maine and Vermont and one other state, I think it's not even a state, it might be D.C. These are 2 states that have never taken away the rights, the incarcerated, to vote. And I don't think that anybody should have their rights to vote taken away just because they're incarcerated, especially if their crime has not been against the country itself. But they have never taken it away, so I might invite him back on again. I'd like to have Michael Johnson back on too. He was a lieutenant with the Montana Department of Corrections, and DJ Vodka right now, I think he's in the process of a possible movie. I had talked to him about coming back on again, but right now his schedule is really tight. I think he might be going for more than the book he wrote. The Green Wall was written by Donald J. Vodka, and he was a 14-year veteran with the Department of Corrections in one of the biggest prisons in California, and he exposed his peers for corruption, and he ended up writing a book eventually. But anyway, we're running out of time, so I want to thank you both again for coming on. And if you can't come on tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, we will be interviewing Andy Williams Jr., presidential campaign. I want to thank everybody for coming on, for listening in, and for giving their feedback. Thank you once again, Joe, and thank you once again to Tarhaka.
You're welcome, sis.
We are now going to end this episode, audience. Thank you so much for listening in, and we will be back.
Take care, Leonna.
You too. And we will be back next week with Reginald Clemons. and Jerry Huskins, and also with Nicholas Thomas next Monday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Thank you all for listening in.